Welcome to Early Years Weekly, the election special.
That's right, this week we've heard a lot of pledges from some of the main parties about what they're going to offer when it comes to childcare. So we're going to just go over what we know so far so that you can make an informed decision on the 12th of December on how any government changes are going to affect your working life.
So if we start with the Lib Dems, who have promised a transformational change to our economy, and that comes in the form of upping the 30 hours to 35 over a 48-week period rather than the 38 as it currently stands. Now, on top of that, it's also going to be available for all 2 to 4-year-olds.
So yeah, it keeps going. It's not just that. Not only is it going to be available to all 2 to 4-year-olds, but it's also going to be available for children from 9 months up to 2 years old if their parents are both in work. So this is raising the bar on various levels. The one positive is that they have talked a lot about the costings and how they need to be giving nursery providers and childcare providers more. So they've said that they're going to increase the average hourly rate for 2-year-olds up to £7.22 an hour, and by 20% for the 3+-year-olds up to £5.36 an hour. So that's an average rate, but it is showing that they are at least hopefully committing to improving the rate that you guys get.
I think it also is worth mentioning they have released the figure that they believe that this is going to cost, which is $14.6 billion, which will be funded by corporate tax and other tax changes. But I suppose it's a good thing that they have costed it, and it perhaps is some, realistic data in amongst all of this, that this is what it is going to cost.
Yeah, but I think as actually Neil Leach said, I saw him speaking on Channel 4 News, he said the devil is in the detail, and we haven't got enough detail right now to know if this is going to be a problem. And of course, on top of that, we know that so many providers at the moment do tend to raise up their fees from those younger children, and if they're also being included in the offer, could be a massive problem because there's almost no leeway left. So this week, we've also had Labour fleshing out some of their proposals, starting with Sure Start. So they've promised to put a Sure Start centre in every community and overall to add 1,000 Sure Start centres across the UK. They've said this is going to cost £1 billion, but a few years ago we did hear from the Institute of Fiscal Studies that these Sure Start centres are positively benefiting the economy as we have less children being admitted to hospital. So this one generally pretty well received by the sector.
Yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning the increase in free childcare to 30 hours to all 2 to 4-year-olds. So that's extended from 3 to 4 down to 2-year-olds, and also for all families. So even if both parents, aren't in work, this will be impacting them. They'll also be investing in additional hours that are subsidized, and they'll be staggered based on the income of the parents. So the more you earn, the more you pay.
So I think in general this is definitely the more worrying part of their offer, as the Lib Dems, not quite as far as the Lib Dems are going, but they are extending their offer, and of course that's a massive worry to anyone who's known the situation of what 30 Hours Care has given us over the last few years. They have talked perhaps a little bit of more about actually providing better conditions to the nurseries and the childcare providers themselves. I read a really interesting article by Shadow Early Years Minister Tracy Brabin in Nursery World, and in there she talks a little bit more about the detail. So she talks about that they will increase the minimum funding rate over £5 up from £4, that will also increase every year under Labour, and that for the 2-year-olds it will go up to over £9 an hour by the end of their first term. The key thing about all of this is that they've also announced a switch to what's called a single supply side model. Now, essentially what this means is instead of getting passed down your funding rate from your local authority, you'll be getting the money yourself. So over the next few weeks, you can know that if you see any promises on numbers from Labour, that will be the full amount that you'll be receiving. Having said this, I think as Neil Leach said, the devil is in the detail. We're not getting quite enough detail on exactly what this is going to be yet. And I think we're all right to think that any more promises of funding without severe and detailed analysis on how much you're going to be receiving is definitely a worry.
So we'll end on the Conservatives. They have not released their manifesto yet, so obviously there will be more to come. So up to now, nothing extra has been announced, despite the rumblings of an increased offer that we did hear a few weeks ago. So Nick Gibb, early years minister, has defended the government and its record. He said, "Giving children the best start in life is vital. That's why we're investing record amounts in high quality childcare. And we have seen the quality of childcare improve, with 95% of childcare now rated good or outstanding."
So why does it matter that we've been talking so much about how these pledges have been funded? Well, we heard more news about the massive problem that underfunding is causing in the early years with the CEDA annual report that came out this week. Now, this annual report is essentially a collation of some unique research that CEDA themselves have done and all of the official governmental stuff that we've had over the last 2 years. They're basically offering a little bit more insight into their kind of figure that has been quoted a lot, which is the 662 million that is missing from the early years funding pot. And they talked about some really interesting extra statistics. The fact that providers in deprived areas are more likely to make a loss than in affluent neighbourhoods. That's 38% versus 23% in affluent neighbourhoods. That single sites are struggling compared to group providers to make a profit, where 55% of single sites are making a profit, 72% of 6-site plus are making a profit. In general, there was a lot of figures in here, and if you ever need anything to back up your claims, I definitely recommend going and having a look at this report. It's got almost 100 pages of really fascinating statistics, and it just paints a really clear picture of what's going on in the early years now and why it's so crucial that we get it fixed.
And unfortunately, that's not all in worrying reports for the week. Now, there's new research from the campaign group Pregnant Then Screwed that says that 92% of childcare providers are going through financial challenges because of the 30 hours offer. Now, this is unsurprising, but yet again, so important to highlight. 22% predict that they will not be operating in 12 months, which is really, really worrying. And of the 266 providers that were looked at, that were researched, 71% said they have difficulties recruiting staff. And on top of that, 96%, which is a huge amount, say that the subsidy just does not cover the costs.
So that's it for the Early Years Weekly election special. Now, over the next couple of weeks, the main parties will be launching their official manifestos with a little bit more detail. So make sure you subscribe if you want to keep updated with all the little bits and pieces that are going to come out over the next few weeks.
And as ever, please feel free to comment. We're always interested in what you think. So if you have any questions, just comment below the video and we'll help out all we can.
So that's it for this year's... I'm good now, I've got it. Okay. So we'll be keeping you updated on this here channel every week on what's going on. This one is always the hardest to film. Make sure to subscribe if you want to keep updated with everything that's going on.
And I hope you found it helpful.